Well, hi everybody, happy Friday. I am so excited to be back this week. And it's an extra special Friday today because not only are we hosting one of our wonderful webinars, but it is our April cohort launch date. So we've got a brand new set of ambitious marketers ready to take their career to the next level, all starting on the Fabric program today, which is always super exciting to work with a whole group of new people. For those of you who might not know me or are new to our webinar series, I am Lisa, founder of Fabric, which is a marketing training academy built to empower the most ambitious marketers to thrive. As part of our promise to our kind of community at Fabric, we've been running a Level Up webinar series for the past sort of 12, 18 months. And that is to always bring value to our audience in every way possible. And our webinars have become so incredibly popular over that period, with over 1,000 of you attending to date. So although we're nearing the end of this series, there will be another coming at some point in the future. So keep your eyes peeled for that. As I say, we're just starting to come to the end of this series now, but we have featured some amazing guests so far, all of which you'll find on the Fabric website. If you have missed any of them, you can get the recordings there on our webinars tab. But today I've such an exciting guest to be joining me because we're going to be talking less about marketing specifically here today and more about confidence, an area which I'm sure we've all struggled with at some point in our careers and will likely always have those wobbles at some point in the future as well. So Tiwalola has transformed the lives of so many women across the globe, and she's going to share some practical tips on how we can be our most confident selves every day. After struggling with low self-esteem throughout her teenage years, Tiwalola founded Confidence in Killing It in 2017 as a response to the generational cycle of low esteem amongst women and girls particularly. Through engaging workshops, coaching sessions, and a podcast, which she'll tell us more about in a little while, Tiwalola equips women with the tools they need to overcome fears and self-doubt, programming minds for success and taking action in life. So far, she's supported over 7,000 women in so many areas of the world, including London, New York, and Johannesburg at the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls, with both the tools and the knowledge they need to be confident. So, wow, I mean, just amazing, right? So far less from me coming in a moment, just the usual housekeeping before I introduce our guest to you. We are going to chat over as much as we can in the next 30 minutes or so. And then, of course, I will be opening the floor to you, our lovely community, to ask all the questions you can. So if you could pop those questions in the Q&A box instead of the chat, just so we don't miss anybody, and Maddie will filter through those as we go to make sure we capture all of your questions. So Tiwalola, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Lisa. That was a really lovely introduction. Thank you.
Good, I'm good. I hope I did that justice, but of course what we want to hear is your story from you. So before we get started, would you just tell us a little bit about your journey and how you became to be where you are now?
Absolutely. So first of all, hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming and for joining. I really love when people engage with me in the chat. So if there's anything that I'm saying and you want to co-sign or you want to add your thoughts and opinions, please, go ahead, introduce yourself in the chat and share your thoughts. So a little bit about me. I started Confident and Killing It in 2017 as a side hustle. It started with me making 1-minute inspirational videos on Instagram about how important it is to love and believe in yourself. And I started those videos because when I was a teenager, my mind was a mess. My mind was super negative. I had low self-esteem, but on the outside, I looked confident to people, but on the inside, it was so negative and so much self-criticism. And it wasn't until I was 21 that I started my personal growth journey that I woke up to how powerful my mind was. And I realized that I don't have to settle with a mind that's negative and mean to me. And actually, I can create a mind that loves me and supports me and encourages me. And so when I started the journey of understanding the power of my mind and programming it for success and building my confidence, I started to experience so much love and joy and happiness. And I was like, this is too good to be true. Why doesn't everyone do this, right? And so I made it my mission in that moment to spread personal development and positivity in a fun and engaging way that is relatable, instead of like just like cringe or really kind of baseless. So I'm a qualified confidence coach, and I specialize in positive psychology. So everything that I bring to my community and I share here today is backed by science, which is really important to me, because it's not just like, you go girl motivation. It's like, actually, if you implement the things that I'm sharing with you, it will change your life, literally. And I've had numerous messages from women all over the world telling me how much my work has impacted them. What else is a part of my story? Yes, I have a couple of different moving pieces to the Confident and Killing It movement. We have the podcast, we have my corporate workshops. So I go into companies and run employee engagement workshops with like Google, Facebook, TikTok, Deloitte, Morgan Stanley. And I launched that in June of 2020. I also have an online academy where it's a safe space for women to come and build their confidence, which is really important to me. And as a coach, it's a place for me to also create community where we can all support and encourage each other and celebrate ourselves. So I quit my full-time job in December of 2019 to run Confident and Killing It full-time. And if I had known there was going to be a pandemic, I probably would not have quit my job. But one of the biggest life lessons I got out of the pandemic was, when people don't give you opportunities, create your own. And when people try and take away things from you, make sure you've invested in things that they cannot take away. So yes, they canceled my bookings. Yes, I lost a lot of money, lost a lot of opportunities, but because I had invested in my confidence, I invested in my mindset, I invested in believing in myself, they couldn't take that away from me. So in a situation where the whole world was falling apart, I actually saw the most growth that I've ever experienced, because I invested in my mindset and I changed my perspective. And in March 2020, where I had no bookings, no money, literally 3 months worth of savings by March was ending, everything looking so bleak, the whole world chaotic. By December of 2020, I had like tripled my revenue. I had started working with some of the biggest companies in the world. I had built a global community of women from all over the world. And that resilience and confidence is what I'm going to be sharing today, because if I can do it, anyone can do it. Confidence is a practice. And so I'm excited to share practical ways to build confidence.
Wow, that story is just unreal. And I guess before we get into the official questions, I've got a little question just around that, really. And that it's more around, did you know the power of this change of mindset? And did somebody help you with that? Or was it all self-discovery? Was it something that you just came across on your journey and worked on?
Yeah. So there was two parts to it. So one, my mom gave me a book called 15 Laws of Growth by John Maxwell. And so that was where I actually learned that growth is something you have to be intentional about. Growth doesn't come with age, right? Growth is something you have to decide for yourself, that you want to be the woman of your dreams. Like the woman I am today, I created her. I wasn't born like this, right? So it was that wake up moment for me where I realized, if I want to be the successful woman I have in my head, I've got to make some changes in my life. And that starts with my mindset. And then at a similar time, I had like a kind of a divine faith encounter where I was in university studying, and there was like a Bible study happening nearby, and I was overhearing the conversation. And, I was hearing all of these things around like how we have the power to kind of like control our negative thoughts and to overcome that. And, like, to know that we are always worthy and our worth doesn't depend on our productivity levels or the color of our skin or what we look like or how much money we have or the degree we have. We matter simply because we exist. And that, for me, those two things, the faith mixed with the science and reading that book, was just like, wow, I've been looking at myself all wrong. Actually, I am so worthy and I am loved and I am amazing. And I kind of woke up to redefining my story and knowing like I can create who I want to be. And if the story I have in my head is negative, I don't have to settle with that. I can create a new story of the Tiwa I want to show up in the world.
Yeah. And I love the way you express that, because, and we'll get onto this no doubt, but lots of us will struggle about how we present ourselves in such a confident way without feeling a bit egotistical or arrogant, or feeling like we're boasting. And, you know, the words that you've just used to describe yourself there are so powerful, but so authentic. And obviously, you know, not any of those negative connotations at all around that. So I'm really interested in that piece as we go through. So, I mean, you talk there about confidence being a mindset, of course. What is the psychology behind this? Can you describe that a little for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So confidence is an in-depth belief in yourself and your abilities, that you have what it takes to make your dreams a reality. So it's all about taking action. There is no confidence if you're not taking action. It's about believing you are capable, regardless of what people say, regardless of what's going on in the world. That's something in you. You have the power to make it happen. So that's kind of like the first step. Now, positive psychology looks at the intentionality of building a positive and growth mindset, because traditional psychology focused on pain and anxiety and depression and how to like deal with those. But just because you deal with pain and depression doesn't mean you automatically get positivity, confidence, joy, happiness, fulfillment. So if you want fulfillment in your life, if you want to be confident, you actually have to be intentional about accessing those things. And so there's actually a model called the 5 pillars of well-being, and it's about positive emotions, investing in things that bring you fulfillment, having good and healthy relationships, having a sense of meaning in your life and a sense of purpose, and celebrating your accomplishments. So if you do those 5 things, work in these 5 areas, you will have a positive mindset and build a mind that loves you and supports you, and you will have more confidence in yourself that you can achieve your goals.
Yeah, that's such a fascinating way to look at it, because you're so right there in terms of, you know, when we feel these low emotions, we tend to then work on them, as opposed to on a proactive basis, working on those emotions that would drive happiness and confidence and self-belief. So it's something that you should be working on all the time. It's a proactive approach to it, or?
Yeah, definitely. I kind of, because there's been a narrative going on like, oh, personal development is so exhausting. Like, do I have to, show up every single day? Do I have to be in this rat race of constantly improving myself? And I think people have got the perspective all wrong, because it's not something that you should feel stressed about doing. If you feel stressed about investing in yourself and growing, you're doing it wrong, right? Personal development should feel like it should feel like organic but intentional at the same time. So you're not striving, but you're taking baby steps every day. It's about consistency. It's about making a decision like, what's one thing I can do to build my confidence today? What's one thing I can do to build a more of a positive mindset? It's about taking baby steps consistently, and as a result you grow, and you're constantly growing and evolving and learning new things about yourself and making better decisions as you go along. It's not about sitting down to read all the books in the world and showing up perfectly every day. Like, your best will look different every single day. And I emphasize a lot, like, confidence is not perfectionism. Okay, you will feel self-doubt, you will feel the fear. These things can never disappear because you're human, and that is a part of your journey. But confidence is about feeling the fear and the self-doubt and doing it anyways, right? So it's about remembering you don't have to be perfect and show up perfectly all the time, but what you won't do is let fear win. Right? What you won't do is put your dreams on the back burner because you're afraid of judgment and rejection. We're not going to do that. But at the same time, we're also not going to show up perfectly every day. What we're going to do is be committed to ourselves to keep the promises that we say we want to ourselves and take baby steps to keep moving forward.
Yeah, I love that. Amazing, amazing advice. I love that. So why do us women struggle with self-belief, particularly more so than probably than men do? Is there is there an imbalance there? Is there a reason? Is it,
Yes.
you know?
Absolutely. So there's actually data that shows there's a confidence gap between women and men. And, the gap is there for many reasons. The media we consume, a lot of it is made by men, and a lot of it is made to make women feel worse about themselves, to encourage us to buy products to make us feel better, right? So it's like, buy this lipstick and you feel confident. Use this hair cream or shampoo and, you'll feel much better about yourself. Have this bubble bath, have this, have that. It's all about, because it drives capitalism, essentially. So the media throughout history has not really played a great part in helping women feel good about themselves. And so that's why I created Confident and Killing It, to create a new generation of media that actually makes people feel good. So the media we consume, growing up, like being surrounded in a patriarchal society, naturally, that's going to affect our confidence as women. So many rules and regulations about what women can and can't do, some of these things. And then also generational. Data shows that if a mother is insecure, she's most likely going to raise an insecure daughter. So if she doesn't deal with her own insecurities, it's going to pass on to her daughter, and then you're stuck in a generational cycle. So those are a couple of things. Now, where the gap comes in is that women often internalize failure and rejection as something being wrong with us, inherently wrong with us. So for example, maybe a woman and a man both sit a really difficult exam, right? If they both don't do well, the man will go, oh, wow, that was a really hard exam. I should probably have worked a little bit harder, right? Or why did they make it so hard? They should have made it easier for us, right? That's how a man looks at the situation. And often women will go, oh, I'm not intelligent enough. That's why I didn't do it. Or I'm not capable enough. That's why I failed. And so we tend to internalize things happening to us as us not being worthy enough, whereas men will go, oh, it's the situation that was difficult. I'm still intact. I'm still worthy. It was just something that happened to me that was challenging. Whereas women will go, oh, now I'm no longer worthy because of this thing. So we tie our worth to our achievements and to external things a lot. So we need to break that cycle, because you matter simply because you exist. And that's it, not because of what you achieve or your grades or the job you have or the money. The fact that you are alive and breathing means that you matter. So I always say to people, you can experience failure, but you can never be a failure, right? Failure can never be your identity. It's something that happens to you. It's not who you are.
Yeah. And that's such an interesting way to look at it. And it's funny because I presume there is a very simple way, or maybe not simple, but there will be a way to reprogram your brain if you are accustomed to, going, that exam was so difficult because I was not good enough for it. Yeah. I mean, is there a way to reprogram those thoughts, or is there a way to look at that situation a different way, a more positive way?
Yes, absolutely. So 3 questions I always say: when negative thoughts come up, you've got to learn to challenge it and get curious about it. Not every single thought that comes into your mind is the truth of who you are. Okay, so first things, your thoughts are not facts. So when a thought comes into your head, interrogate it, right? Take it through a series of questions. So the first question is asking yourself, is this 100% facts, or am I making an assumption here? Okay, is there all the evidence to show that what I'm thinking is true, or am I allowing my emotions to take over? So, a thought comes in that goes, you're not good enough to be in this job, right? Is there evidence to show that you are not good enough, right? Or are you making an assumption about it? A lot of the times we make assumptions about things, and it's not 100% fact. So focus on what is true. The next question is asking yourself, does this thought sabotage me, or does this thought empower me? Okay, if a thought takes you further away from the person you want to become, from the goals you want to achieve, that's a sabotaging thought. And that needs to be thrown out of your head into the bin. Now, you can't just close your ears and be like, don't be negative, don't be negative. That's not going to work, right? So you need to replace it with something. If you want to ditch negative thoughts, you don't just go, I don't want to think that. You go, okay, I don't like that thought. What else can I think? And so you need to create an empowering narrative that you actually want for yourself. So What are your strengths? What are you good at doing? What are some positive things about you? Use your strengths and the positive things about you to create empowering thoughts about yourself. So, for example, I was giving a talk once to about 50 women, and my negative thoughts, as I was talking about how important it is to own your story, my negative thoughts come in and be like, oh my gosh, everyone is bored. You need to end this event right now. You need to shut up. You need to shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. And I'm there talking to a whole bunch of women about how important your voice is and own your story. And my mind is trying to sabotage me in that moment.
Yeah.
Right. So instead, what did I do? I looked for a more empowering thought, and I was like, hang on a second, they've paid to be here, right? I've gotten positive feedback that my speaking, my talks have changed people's lives. So, and I'm like, I know I'm a good communicator. I have the evidence for that. And so I use that to create empowering language based on the truth of what I really know about myself. And then finally, ask yourself, would you ever say this to a friend? Because we are so loving and encouraging to our friends and family and so mean and critical to ourselves. So if you would never say to a friend, you don't deserve to be in this job, or everyone's bored, you should shut up, don't say that to yourself. And instead ask yourself, what would I say to a friend in this situation? And then say it back to yourself.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's such a wonderful advice. And I think what's really interesting is just hearing that it happens to even the best of us, whilst you're there on stage, as you say, in a situation where people have chosen, paid, and dedicated their time to be there, and no doubt we're hanging on your every word, likely, that you can still be having these thoughts. And actually, it doesn't need to be a quiet moment when you can start to change those around. It's just, I guess, knowing the power that not to let them take hold of you and sabotage you in that situation. But I think there's some amazing actionable tips there for anybody who's going through that self-sabotage piece of how you can start to change that mindset around. I mean, the positive of thinking, I mean, the power of it is just so brilliant, isn't it? I mean, as you've talked there, the way you start to reposition that piece and the power that positive thinking gives you to be able to change your actions or the way you're dealing with a situation is amazing. But how can you always do that, particularly if you're in a moment where you're struggling or you're under stress, where you might be in a situation where it's not so easy just to have a quiet word with yourself? How is the best way to discover that positive thinking and then embed it into yourself?
Yeah, so it's a practice. So I was only able to do it in that moment on the spot because I had already prepared myself.
Yeah.
So I always say to people, don't wait till you're in the moment to start trying to think of what your positive things are. Have a strengths log. So I have a spreadsheet where I have all my strengths and I have examples of when I've demonstrated each strength. So for example, I am resilient because I can bounce back from challenging situations. A time when I showed this was when COVID happened. I lost my business, but I built it back. So I have that note. Next one, I am creative because So I have a list of all my strengths and examples of when I've demonstrated those strengths. And I meditated on them every single day. So when I was in that moment, I had already been practicing the positive thinking so it could come into action straight away. So what I would say is, don't wait till your emotions are down or you're feeling bad about yourself to start building your positive mindset. Start from today. Another great thing you can do is writing down 3 things that went well for you every day, because gratitude is a powerful perspective and mindset shifter. So when the negative thoughts are there, it's like, okay, well, what can I still be grateful for in this situation? And every day, when you reflect on your day and you write down the positive things that happen to you, you're basically training your brain to scan for positivity in your life. Yep. So you're teaching your brain how to practice looking for the good things, because for a lot of us, we always jump to the worst possible outcome. But if at the end of the day, you have to write down 3 things that went well for you, your brain is going to start practicing looking for positive things in your day. And so when the negative thoughts come, your positive memories are at the forefront of your mind. Because for a lot of people, they shove their positive memories under the rug and they replay the negative memories over and over again. Stop doing that. That's not serving you in any way. So instead, we want to bring the positive memories to the forefront and push the negative memories to the back. So that's another thing you can do. And then the third thing I would say is it's important to acknowledge how you feel. So we're not talking about, toxic positivity here, where every single day you have to be happy, clappy, motivated, things like that. It's okay to feel fear. It's okay to feel a little bit of self-doubt sometimes. It's okay for your emotions to be a bit of a mess. That is good mental health. It's feeling everything, not just the good stuff. So I always say to people, first thing, acknowledge how you feel. Okay. And then articulate what's going on for you. So, okay, I'm feeling a bit fearful today, or I'm really doubting myself, or my negative thoughts are really beating me up today. Fine. It's okay. Acknowledge it. Next step, expand on that, articulate that. What else is going on for you? How else are you feeling? Either write it down or speak to someone. If you keep everything stuck in your head, it makes it difficult to manage. But when you see it on paper, you can begin to see a way forward. So articulate it either by writing it, journaling, or speaking to someone, and then actually allow yourself to move forward. The key is not to get stuck in the fear or the negativity and the self-doubt. Feel the feelings, feel what you need to feel, gather the meaning, and then let it go by then focusing on the empowering beliefs that you want for yourself.
Love that. And you mentioned there about meditating those kind of positive thoughts on a regular basis. Do you still do that? Is that a practice that you have in all the time, or is it a period of time where you can do that and it kind of embeds it forevermore?
No, it's a constant practice, because if you stop, then you forget. I mean, I don't do it as much as I used to do in the early stages, because I've set up my life in a way that I'm constantly reminded every day that I am very capable. So this is what I call, and I talk a lot about this in my book and on the podcast, your power circle. So your power circle is where your strengths, your passions, and your values meet. Okay, this is where you will be your most confident and unstoppable self. So I have built a life at the intersection of my power circle. So every day when I show up to work, I'm working from a place of strength. I'm using my strengths every day. I'm doing work that I'm passionate about. My to-do list is in alignment with my top values. So every time I look at my tasks for the week, I see how I am honoring the things that are most important to me. So I've set myself up for success in terms of like every day when I live my life and the choices that I make, I am honoring my strengths and my passions and my values and my calling. And so I am in a very good place with my confidence. Now, things will happen outside of my control. I will fall off a bit, but at least I've set my day up in a way and my life up in a way where it constantly reminds me that yeah, I am a capable person. Another thing, and I'll share the link to this, is I have a monthly wins tracker. So every single month I go in and I write my small wins and my big wins. And that's so important, because it's scientifically proven that people who look back at their life with a sense of accomplishment and achievement feel more confident and optimistic about their future, because they go, if I did it before, I can do it again. So every single month I carve out 1 hour to reflect on my wins, to look at what I've done in the month, and to just take a moment to celebrate myself. So that way, when imposter syndrome tries to creep in or comparison tries to creep in, I always say imposter syndrome is temporary memory loss, where you've forgotten all the amazing things about you. So in order not to forget the amazing things about you, carve out time at least once a month to just reflect on those things and go over it.
That's so interesting to think that you can build that into your to-do list, your work and practices every day, your values. Like you can really get right down to, the nitty-gritty with this and make sure that it isn't something that's kind of big and visionary and fluffy that is visited once a year, that actually you can build it into your day-to-day practices.
Yeah.
Okay, imposter syndrome. Let's talk that a little. I mean, this is a reality for so many people. How can we escape specifically imposter syndrome? Or is this just very much tied in with the mindset and the confidence and positivity, or is there a slightly different angle to deal with imposter syndrome?
Yeah, so about 70% of adults will have experienced imposter syndrome sometime in their life. It basically comes when you're outside of your comfort zone and you're doing something new. And I mean, if you're not outside of your comfort zone, then it means you're not growing. So if you're experiencing imposter syndrome, it probably is a sign that you're on the right track, you're doing something something different and you're in the process of growing and evolving, right? Now, a lot of people just say fake it till you make it. And I really want to challenge that, because I don't believe in faking it till you make it. Because when you say fake it till you make it, you're saying essentially you need to be a fake to be successful. Like you need to be someone who you're not to be accepted. And when you really think about the underlying meaning behind that, you're basically inviting imposter syndrome into your life, because you're thinking, oh, I'm not good enough, so I need to become somebody else. But then when you become somebody else, you're going to get found out. And that's what imposter syndrome is. It's the fear of being found out. So I prefer a concept called learning and leveling up. Learning and leveling up. So you realize that learning is your superpower, and knowledge and capability are not the same thing. Just because you don't know how to do something doesn't mean you're not capable of doing it, right? The capability is there. You just need to spend time researching and practicing and applying yourself, and you will get it. So when you're experiencing imposter syndrome, it's important to know that, yeah, learning is a superpower, and whatever it is you're feeling right now, you don't have to have all the answers. So there's 5 different personas of imposter syndrome that were created by Dr. Valerie Young. And essentially, it's like, if it depends on the view in which you look at capability. If you think competence and capability looks like knowing all the answers all the time. So if I'm really intelligent, I should know every single thing. So people ask me a question and I'll never be caught off guard. That's not even realistic, right? So if you think like that, if intelligence to you looks like knowing it all, you're gonna have imposter syndrome, because you will never know it all, right? Some people go, oh, if I'm so capable, I should never struggle. Everything should be a breeze because I'm so capable, I'm so intelligent, I should never find things challenging. Again, that's not true. Life is a roller coaster. It is not a straight road. The most capable people go through the most trying times. It's just a part of life. So not seeing your capability tied to the ease of your life, but actually to your resilience is a much better way to do it. Some people go, so talked about the expert. Oh, yes, some people go, if I'm so capable and intelligent, then I shouldn't need to ask for help. I should be able to say yes to everyone and everything and never need to ask for help myself. Now, asking for help is not a weakness. No. Okay, everyone needs to ask for help. We're human. And if you say yes to everyone, you take on so much, you can't handle it, and then you drop the ball. So you're not dropping the ball because you're not intelligent enough. You're dropping it because you've reached capacity and you're not being bold enough to say, you know what, I need help, or to learn to say no to people. So understanding how you see intelligence and capability will be a big part of the way imposter syndrome affects you.
Yeah, really interesting. And I think it's great to hear that perspective, but also just some really actionable insights in how you can cope with this and manage it a lot better. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. That was amazing. One question I've got around, I guess, surrounding yourself with positive people. How important is that around your mindset, your positivity? Does it play a part in the people that you surround yourself with? And is that, should you constantly try and be surrounding yourself with the right type of people with the same type of mindset, or does that not play too much of a part?
No, it's 100% crucial. And relationships is part of the 5 pillars to well-being. So you can be the most positive, believing in yourself as much as possible, confident person ever. But if you are in an environment that is toxic and negative, it's going to affect your confidence. So I see a lot of the times in the women that come to me for coaching, it's like, oh, I was a confident person by going to this relationship and it knocked my confidence. Or I was a confident person, but then I had a really bad manager and they knocked my confidence. So the people you surround yourself with and what you take in and the energy you surround can actually really affect your confidence. So making sure that you're surrounded by people who see your worth and who believe in you and who encourage you is crucial. And for me, that played a big part in my confidence. I have the most supportive and amazing parents, and I never once kind of thought I wasn't capable of something because my parents were always like, you've got this, you can do this. There's nothing you can't do. Like, just put your mind to it, believe in yourself. So I grew up in a really loving and supportive environment. But at the same time, there's two parts to it. If you don't believe in yourself, you can hear all the positivity in the world and it's not going to mean anything. And then also you can have all the positivity in the world, but if you're surrounded by negative people, it can really take it away. So the two of them are just as important as each other. Know it for yourself and then surround yourself with people on the same wavelength as you.
Yeah, that sounds great. Okay, I'm going to ask just a couple of final questions, almost around the same idea here before we start to open the floor to others. So if you've got some questions, do start or pop them in the Q&A. But something that I wanted to talk about, because we are talking constantly about personal branding at the moment, or talking openly about our achievements and our successes and the, our goals and ambitions. And, there's always been that little bit of worry that if you shout too loudly about your achievements or you're a bit too positive, it can be seen as a negative, particularly for women as well. I think we struggle with this way more than men do. How can you get more confident with talking about your confidence or your positive mindset or your achievements? And how important is that to be able to talk openly about those things without that imposter syndrome kicking back in again?
Yeah, it's a really important conversation to have because it's a double-edged sword, particularly for women. So, if you put your head down and let your work do the talking, you're never going to get to your maximum potential. But at the same time, the women have experienced backlash, right? There's some studies that shown that women who talk a lot are perceived in a negative way, right? Compared to men. So half the world is saying, yes, be confident, go out there, speak, brag, da, 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 da. But then there's real backlash that comes with that. So also learning how to manage that. So for me, the way I look at it is confidence and arrogance are not the same thing, okay? When you are a confident person, you believe in yourself, you believe in your abilities, and you use those things to lift others up as you go along, right? So arrogant people, they are the only ones who want to be at the top. They have a scarcity mindset where they think, if someone else is winning, that means I'm losing. So yeah. I need to get to the top by pushing other people down. Confident people go, there is enough room for all of us to be amazing. There is enough room for all of us to thrive. So I can be great, you can be great, she can be great, they can be great. And I'm going to use my greatness and my light to lift other people up so that they can shine too. Knowing that somebody else's shine doesn't take away from my own shine. So I think depending on the mindset that you have, arrogant people will promote themselves in shallow ways. It's as simple as that. Whereas people who are confident and have a sense of purpose and meaning and have a mission will promote themselves in impactful ways, in authentic ways, right? So self-promotion is not the issue, it's the person behind it and their intention. So if you're not a shallow person, you don't have to worry about coming across shallow because it's most likely you will promote yourself in an authentic way. Now, what does authentic self-promotion look like? You're not just going, hey, everyone, I'm amazing. Look at me. I did this, 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 and this. I'm so great. I'm so great. You're not. That's not what we're doing here. I'm going, hey, everyone, here's my story. This is what I've achieved. These are the challenges. This is the lessons I've learned. And now I'm sharing these lessons with you too, so you don't make the same mistakes. Also, you can use these lessons to grow your life. Authentic self-promotion has meaning and a message in it that can help other people. Shallow self-promotion is just about self-glorification for your own self and for your own means.
Absolutely. And I guess we're starting to see a real shift there, aren't we? Because particularly platforms like LinkedIn, which was, years back, you only talked about your professional life. You certainly didn't talk about your personal life or your journey or your struggles. And that was almost frowned upon on that particular platform. But of course, we all love a story. We all relate to other humans because of their challenges, their ups, their downs, their successes, their wins, their falls. It's what makes us all human and individuals. So that type of promotion is, as exactly as you said, it's fascinating and interesting to people in a very authentic way, but it also really helps others who are going through similar challenges or struggles to know that they can be overcome and that other people have shared their experiences too. So just a ton of positives there, really, in getting behind that self-promotion piece in an authentic way.
Yeah, and also the power of personal brand. I've not sent one outbound email in the past 2 years. All my business comes to me. Why? Because I've built a personal brand where I'm top of mind. So people are looking, we need someone to empower women, Tiwa, right? So I've created an association. We all have a story. So it's just about whether you want to be strategic with your story or not. People will always make assumptions about you. So it's about, do you want to kind of drive the boat and drive that narrative, or do you just want to let people make whatever assumption that they want, right? So I would rather be strategic about it and position myself in people's minds in a way that allows them to bring opportunities to me, right? So that's the power of personal brand. If you want to become an entrepreneur, visibility is key, and people associating you as an expert, as a thought leader, and being top of mind, that is how you get opportunities, even in the corporate world too, right? If someone's thinking, oh, I want someone to work on this campaign with me, right? They're going to think of, okay, whose name is going to come to mind? The person who's most visible, right? And it's not even the most capable person. And this is why about 20% of women get passed up for promotion compared to their male counterparts, because visibility, men find that easier, because women are told, just stay in your lane, just put your head down, be a good one, just do your own thing, don't make too much noise. Whereas men get results when they're more visible. And so they tend to get the project more, be top of mind. So if you really want to get ahead, you've got to learn to showcase your skills and talents so that when opportunities arise, your name is coming to mind.
And I think that people are aware of that now more so than ever before. But I guess one thing that I get asked a lot, and I'd love to get your take on this, is when you're putting yourself out there on social media, particularly, you open yourself up to criticism and negative comments, and particularly if you're successful or you're doing well or you're promoting yourself. Any tips and advice on how people can deal with that kind of negative pushback or comments of, trolling or, just pulling you down, and how you can block that out and make sure you refrain from kind of letting it allow you off guard?
Yeah, so I always say, if Beyonce can have haters, who am I to not have haters, right? There's always going to be someone that doesn't like what you're doing. And I often think, people will either be inspired or be triggered. And a lot of the times people who are negative towards you is because they are seeing you do something that they want to do themselves. And they don't have the emotional intelligence to process that they can turn the comparison around and use it as inspiration to live their own life. Instead of trying to drag you down. Like, somebody trying to drag you down can never win by dragging another person down. So if you see someone dragging you down, just know that their life really isn't going to go anywhere, and their words don't have power over you unless you allow it.
Yeah.
Okay, so one negative comment or a couple of negative comments doesn't get to define your whole life unless you allow it. If there is some truth in it, listen to the criticism, but as Brené Brown says, only take criticism from people in the same arena as you, right? Because there are so many people who are on their sofa, right? And you're there hustling, working, trying new things, taking risks, and they have the most to say, but they've never left their sofa.
Yeah.
A negative opinion from somebody who's never left their sofa while you are taking bets on yourself and trying new things does not matter the slightest bit. Someone in your industry who has been on the same path as you, giving you some positive criticism is the kind of criticism you should pay attention to. So yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to ask you some questions from our audience now. So we've got a question here which says, what's the best way to stop comparing yourself to others, especially where social media is concerned?
Yeah, great question. So I have this analogy. So if you pretend you're like driving a car, this is life and you're driving a car, and this is what comparison looks like. You're looking at, oh, what did she just achieve? Oh, she just made so much money. Oh, they've just gone on this amazing, oh, and then you're driving, but you're never looking straight ahead and you're always constantly looking left and right. Boom, it's a car crash waiting to happen. And also when you're busy looking left and right, you can't think straight and walk in a straight line, right? So comparison is a distraction. And that's why, thank you, Maddie, you've put the link to the monthly wins tracker. I use the monthly wins tracker to, when it looks like, oh, everyone's doing better than me, I'm not achieving anything, I go back and look at my progress. And actually I'm like, hang on a second, you are killing it. Slow progress is still progress, right? And also learning to define success on your own terms. In the beginning of my career as an entrepreneur, I defined success based on numbers. How many likes, how many followers, how many people were talking about this, how many people commented on this. But actually, there will always be someone with bigger numbers than you, always, right? Because that's just life. The numbers always keep going up. So instead, I use Maya Angelou's definition of success. And she says, success is liking who you are, liking what you do, and liking how you do it. So it's not about how many people show up compared to another person or how good you look compared to another person. Is, do you like who you are, right? Do you like what you do? Do you like how you spend your time? If you like all of those things, that is success in itself. You get to define success and failure on your own terms. The world doesn't have the power to tell you whether you're a success or you're a failure. So if you really struggle with social media comparison, use your monthly wins tracker to remind yourself of how far you've come. Know that comparison is a distraction, and instead focus on your own lane. Look left and right from time to time, but really your number one priority should be being better than the person you were yesterday and working on your future self. And then also, you know, people say this a lot, if you follow accounts that trigger you, feel free to cleanse your feed, right? Unfollow certain accounts if they aren't bringing value to your life and they make you feel bad about yourself. And also don't compare your early days to someone who's 10 years ahead of you. It's not even an even comparison, right? If you are going to compare yourself, at least compare yourself to somebody on the same level as you. But what do? We tend to compare the worst of us to the best of other people. So that's also something to keep in mind. And then finally, know that social media is curated, right? People make a choice about what they want to show. So know that social media is not the full picture. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So don't compare your own behind the scenes to somebody else's highlight reel that they've curated perfectly for their feed.
So many important lessons in there, so many, and we will be following up with lots of these tips. And I think it's interesting because my journey, particularly, you know, success in my early years of starting a business was completely defined by what typical business success looked like: turnover, number of employees, how big your office is, how big your clients are. And I think, you know, you learn over time, and certainly for me, I've learned over time that success is exactly what you want it to be, and it's happiness and it's freedom and it's the things that you really value, not what other people deem successful. And, you know, it definitely is a mindset change, but for me, it's a mindset change that has come with experience and probably age as well, in a sense. But I think there's some just really, really valuable lessons there for people. Okay, I've got a great question here. So how do you find the confidence to say no? So this person says, I'm constantly overloaded my plate with plans and never leave any time for myself, but feel too guilty to say no to people I care about.
Really good question. And I have a whole chapter in my book about this, prioritizing your needs, because we get into so many challenging situations where we feel guilty about, you know, saying no to others and prioritizing ourselves. It feels selfish, but self-care isn't selfish. So the first thing I would say is life is all about yeses and nos. When you say yes to everyone and everything, you are saying no to something. So just think about it. If I say yes to this dinner that I don't want to go to, what am I saying no to? You're saying no to yourself. You're saying no to your boundaries. You're saying no to your values, to your inner peace, to rest, right? So there's a consequence for every choice that you make. So don't just think of the other person, think of the other side of the coin, right? So if I say yes to everyone and everything, what am I saying no to? A lot of the times you're saying no to yourself. Yeah. What happens if you keep saying no to yourself? You're telling yourself that you are second place. Are you going to prioritize something that's second place? No, you're not. But guess what? Everybody else is prioritizing their life. Everybody else is putting themselves as number one. And there you are putting yourself as number two to put everybody else as number one, right? It's just not a smart decision. Nobody has ever died from getting disappointed. Okay, no one's died. No one's died. They will just be disappointed, but they will be okay. They will move on. So don't be afraid to disappoint people from time to time. Disappointing people does not mean you're a bad person. It does not mean you're a failure. It just means sometimes the way that they need something isn't working for you right now. So don't be afraid to set boundaries. Boundaries are just like a user manual, right? Every product you buy comes with a user manual, the best way to get the most out of something. So see setting boundaries as like, okay, this is me. This is how I want to be interacted with. It's not always going to work for you, but I will try my hardest, to make it work sometimes, but sometimes you're going to have to be disappointed, and that's okay. So I think the negative side or the disadvantages of putting yourself second are way worse than the 5 minutes of disappointment someone's going to feel because you didn't help them do something, right? Because at the end of the day, you don't want to get to the end of your life and feel regret that you didn't take action on your dreams because you were taking care of somebody else. You are responsible for your life. So you can't blame anyone. At the end of the day, you have to take responsibility. So just kind of keep that in mind. If I say yes to this, what am I saying no to? If I say no to this, what am I saying yes to? So say yes to yourself more often.
And that again, there's a bit of a confidence that comes around doing that for the first time, the second time, the third time, and getting a bit more comfortable with it. And that wasn't my question. It was genuinely a question from the community, but I struggled with that for so long. Yeah. And to the point where I had to put a post-it on my Mac to say, do not say yes, or do not say no to this, and really remind myself the importance around what I have to prioritize. And the more comfortable you get around doing that the first handful of times, the easier it becomes, but it can be a challenge for sure.
Absolutely. And just quickly on that, you can also start by saying no on a small level, before you get to the big things, because you're not just going to be able to say maybe no to your manager like the first time. So start small with things that don't really matter too much and practice and build that confidence.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, we've got a great question here as well. So how do I get over the fear of speaking out and being yourself? So this person says, are there any specific steps you'd recommend? In my head, I know there's nothing to be scared about, but thinking about that and doing it are quite different things. So any steps around, I guess, those negative thoughts and making sure that they come out as positive actions potentially?
Yeah. So there's actually a link between your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. Negative thoughts lead to negative feelings, lead to you retreating and holding back. Positive thoughts lead to positive feelings, lead to you taking action. So I like to say fear is just a negative thought of something in the future that hasn't happened yet. So if you can think, what if I fail? What if I mess up? What if people think my idea is stupid? That is one possibility of something in the future that could happen. What else could happen? Okay, what if I speak up and I share my idea and it sparks inspiration for something else? What if I succeed? What if people do show up to my presentation or to my event? That is a possibility in the future. So I would say lean into the positive possibilities, right? Think of what you actually want to happen rather than what you don't want to happen, okay? And then when you lean into the positive possibilities, you will feel that confidence and bold energy inside of you, and then you just got to go ahead and do it. So Mel Robbins has a great technique called the 5-second rule. And basically, when you're hesitating, you just count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 backwards and launch yourself into that thing like a rocket launch in general, right? When rockets are launching, they count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, take off. So counting 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 scientifically brings your attention to your prefrontal cortex, which is the front of your brain, rather than in the back of your brain, your amygdala, which is the emotional part of your brain. So you're in a meeting and you want to speak up, and you know you should, and you know you've got something important to say, but then the hesitation starts and you're feeling afraid. You just have to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Please, can I say something? Yeah. Right. And when you do that, if you try practice it now, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, your body's just like, oh, where are we going? What's happening? Right? Because you're bringing awareness to the logical part of your brain. So in those moments when you know what to do, but you're not doing it, it means you're stuck in your emotions, and you need to wake up the logical part of your brain who's just like, right, let's get into it.
Brilliant. That's brilliant. I've got no doubt lots of people will start to try that.
Yeah.
Okay, so last question. In fact, both questions are the same, and they're around any books or resources, one for building confidence, two for self-confidence. So anything that you could recommend for us?
Absolutely. So my debut book is coming out on the 7th of July, Confident and Killing It. And it's a game plan for building confidence. So I think I put the link for that already in the chat. So do check that out. You can pre-order it now, and then you'll have it on the day when it launches. I also have the Confident and Killing It podcast, where if you've loved what I've said today, I've expanded on a lot of these points in my podcast, so you can go check that out. The book that I mentioned that kind of sparked my personal growth journey is 15 Laws of Growth by John Maxwell. I really loved that. And so sorry, it was building confidence, and what was the other one?
Confidence, same sort of thing, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, when it comes to building confidence, another book. So when it comes to, if you want something very, very practical, I love Dr. Julie's book, Why Has No One Told Me This Before? And she's a psychologist, so she breaks down like psychology tools that you can use to build your confidence as well. From a marketing perspective, I really love, no, I'm not gonna remember the name. Maybe I'll send you a list. I'm trying to find.
Yeah, follow up.
Oh, it's not on my bookshelf right now. But yes, I will say I can send a list of things. Also, Everything is Figure-Outable by Marie Forleo. That's a really good book. So I recommend that as well.
Yeah, I love that one as well. That is amazing. Thank you so much. And just before we close off, for those who aren't necessarily on live with us, but watch the recording afterwards, where can they reach you? Where can we continue the conversation, and where should we direct people if they want to find out more?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can follow me on Instagram at Tiwalola or at Confident and Killing It. And you can also find me on LinkedIn as well if you're more of a LinkedIn person. Just, my full name, Tiwalola Ogunlesi.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, that has been the most amazing advice. I feel like we've been in like mini therapy sessions. No doubt just the lift that we've all needed going into a long weekend, and I'm sure our community will get so much value out of that. So thank you so much. I hope to see lots of people posting about this as well, to start their posting journey if they're wanting to, just get a little bit comfortable. This is a great session to start with that, with some key takeaways and maybe some, snippets of your story of things that have happened along the way. So if you do post anything, feel free to tag us, and we'll absolutely support you with some comments back on that as well. And as ever, these webinars are recorded, so if you've absolutely loved this and you've been on live and you want to watch it back, it will be going onto the website later today as well. We are back next week for the very last webinar of this series with Darren Taylor of Rowan Homes, who's going to be helping support on how to ace your PPC strategy. So lots of our marketing community we know are digital marketers and have to look after PPC. So don't miss that one. You can sign up on the website in the usual way. And don't forget that our April cohort is now live. Enrollment is still open for another couple of days. We've got next week before we close that off. So if you are thinking about it, get in touch and we will help make that decision a little easier for you and let you know if that course is right for you. Otherwise, Tiwalola, thank you so much again for all your insights. It's been really wonderful having you share that confidence and positivity today on a Friday.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and best of luck to everyone. And if anyone has any more questions, feel free to send me a DM or message on LinkedIn and I'll be happy to answer.
We
Yeah,
absolutely
thank
will.
you.
Thank you so much, and hope
Yeah.
everyone has a lovely long bank holiday weekend, and the sun that's out in Newcastle today hopefully sees you all over the weekend as well.
Yeah.
Take care, everyone. Thanks now.
Bye.
Bye.